30 years old.
Yes.
You know, but it still happens for you.
Yes.
The dream is still there. It's, I guess, simmering. Is that the best way to
That's
describe
a good
it?
way. It was sitting back on low heat, but the heat was there. Heat was there. And what happened for me is I was dating a man whose best friend was a heart builder. Now, mind you, I've been built. I had my own barbershop. I was doing well. It could have been a barber. I mean, literally, I had been traveling. My barbershop did very well.
Mm-hmm.
And at the age of 30, I started dating a man whose best friend was a heart builder. We went away to Europe, and I heard the cora, which is the ancestor of the heart. And somebody put on an LP. Some of y'all are way too young to remember LPs. Vinyl is where it's at. And I heard that sound, and it resonated with everything that I am. And when I told that man, I said, that man I was with, I said, when we get back, his best friend's name is Brian Stegers. Brian still lives in San Juan Bautista building harps. I said, when we get back, I'm going to buy a harp from Brian. And he thought I was kidding. I called Brian up almost the day after we landed. I said, Brian, I need to buy a harp. I said, and I need to put it on layaway, because he was selling harps for $500. He said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm coming down from San Juan. I'll bring the harp, and you can pay me off in payments.
Wow. So this was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
And you hadn't played the harp yet.
I hadn't even touched the harp. So he brought it to the house in May of 1992. I don't even remember the date. What I say is all of May is my heart birthday.
Yes.
And for the first 30 days, all I did was run my fingers across, because the sound, oh, come on y'all, you know, really, the sound of the harp even by itself is just beautiful.
Yes.
When I finally realized, I think I better get a teacher in.
Yeah, you put $500 into something, you want to be able, it shouldn't be like one of those Stairmasters or something that sits in the corner collecting dust, you know.
Nope. So I found my way to a wonderful teacher, Paula St. James, I believe is her name. And then I found another woman who really put me on point. Her name was Stephanie Kramer. And she was 29 and I was 30. She said, look, I don't even know why you're here. She said, the old ones don't stick to the instrument. If you want to study with me, this is the deal. You need to have a plan. And even with that plan, harp lessons at that time in 92 were $17 a week. You had to pay a month in advance, and if you missed your appointment, you could make it up, but you had to make it up within that next 30 to 31 days, because she didn't play that. I missed one harp lesson. She said, I'll see you sometime next week, right?
So you were serious.
I was very serious, to the point where now and again, oh wow, we're 20 years later in May. When she's here, she looks for me and wants to talk with me about what I'm doing music-wise, and even sends me Facebook messages at Destiny the Harpist on Facebook, or tweets me at Sound Sculptress and says, oh, I just saw what you're doing. That's fantastic. Just saw your last video. Oh, could you send me your latest recording? So proud of you.
Yes. That was my next question. She must be very proud.
She's very proud.
So where were you when you started taking it? Were you still in Southern Cali?
I was still in Southern Cal. I was in San Pedro. And I was with that incredible individual who will remain who he is. And so I was there, and he didn't like Los Angeles. He had been living here in the Bay Area, and so we moved back here to the Bay Area. I turned my barbershop over to my mother. I moved here and literally started to really study harp. He, in a sense, afforded me that ability, and then I actually found a job selling exotic wood and Japanese woodworking tools at a place called the Japan Woodworker in Alameda. It's also known as Woodline Tool and Supply. And they were so good, they thought I was fun. But I would be in there selling woodworking tools and literally large planks of wood, and in between time, I'd be reading my sheet music, or I'd be standing in front of the saws, and I'd be directing them in music. And they said, ooh, you really do want to do this music thing, don't you?
Wow. Well, you know what, Destiny, here's what we'll do. We'll kind of get back to who you started connecting with up here once you arrived up here, but maybe we should hear some of your work.
Okay.
What's the first piece we're going to hear?
Wow, you've got a few pieces over there. You got to show me the. Okay, we're going to hear Tuesday morning, which is my first jazz release. It's a jazz teaser, and Tuesday morning has myself on harp and the incredible Marcus Shelby on upright bass and the incredible Jack Dorsey on drums. And this is my first original piece for jazz. Marcus comes in and he guests with me as well as Jack Dorsey. And these cats are so infamous locally as well as nationally. I have to grab them when I can. But I really started to look at Dorothy Ashby and look back at her with jazz trios, her with Roy Haynes and with Frank West, and just looking at that and saying, I really want to do that. I want to have that experience. So I would catch up with some bass players and drummers and say, come on, we're gonna do some jazz standards. And it took them a minute to wrap their mind. They said, well, where's the piano? I am the piano.
Right.
I am it. How about the horn? I will sing.
So you have a little bit of resistance to that idea, maybe, no?
There's been some resistance, but not a lot. It was just folks trying to wrap their mind. Well, how does that work? I said, just trust me. Just trust me. And so if Larry Van on drums has come through sometime, I've had on upright bass, Marcus Shelby, Haroon Wesley, Elliot Racine. I've had some local cats, and they're like, wow, this is cool. I never even thought of harp doing this. And so that's how that started to happen. I wanted to play those jazz tunes on harp. I said, I know it can be done. Dorothy did it. Stella Castellucci, who was on tour with Peggy Lee for 8 years, she did it. There's another one, her name is Adele, and I can't remember her last name. These women, and they're men, Casper Reardon, these are folks who played jazz and jazz standards on harp. I said, I'm doing this. Got Lori Andrews down in Los Angeles, she's doing it. And in creating her own music as well, that's in the jazz harp. I said, me too, me.
So you kind of turn their heads around in terms of how they're feeling about the harp, I mean, in that context.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to keep turning their heads.
I certainly am.
And so what about that context for you? I mean, talk about, what is it that you're after in that context, in the trio context, that you wouldn't get somewhere else?
Well, there is the conversation. When the first time I heard about the conversation in jazz, I didn't know what it was, but I know what it felt like. And I wanted to have and be a part of that conversation. And so that's another way of how that came about. I wanted to be a part of that conversation. I wanted to be able to speak on my instrument with another instrument on stage. Just to have there's a conversation that jazz artists get to have amongst themselves that I wanted some. I was feeling greedy and I want some of that.
You feeling greedy? But is there a way, Destiny, and I'm one of those people that sometimes frowns on how analytical you can be about the music, but is there a way to explain that feeling when you're at that high level of communication where, you slipped into the metaphysical, you know that, the spiritual element is taking over? Is there a way to even explain that, share that feeling?
It's almost like hearing in the Bible where Jesus would say, the kingdom of heaven is like. It's like. I remember I was playing, and I played with this group, the Richard Howell Quintet, which awesome folks. Richard Howell, Frederick Harris, Gary Brown, and E.W. Wainwright. And we were playing at the DeYoung. And we were hitting so hard that we were hitting so hard that when we were complete, only thing I could say is, and please forgive me, I felt like I could have a cigarette afterwards. We're trying to put the feeling into words, but it doesn't have words if you weren't there.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
And that's I love live recordings. I love studio recordings, but there is things that get recorded live that don't happen in the studio. And just that pulsing, and I use the word also conspire, which means to breathe together. We're all breathing together as one. If there is a word, I would say conspire, because we're all breathing together as one entity in this thing that we've given a label called music.
And what about the democracy of jazz, where each person's voice is equally shared? And do you find that you have that experience within the jazz context, where your voice is just as important as the next person's voice when you're on that bandstand and you're sharing at that level?
I do, I've heard of a few other women say that they didn't get that. But what I found is that as I've begun sharpening myself as a musician, that it's recognized, and that my voice does have that same level of importance as every other musician on that stage.